Our guest in studio is Sister Raeesa, Sheikh, a speech and language pathologist. Yes, we have therapist, occupational therapist, but she's a speech and language pathologist. Well, Raeesa is a dedicated speech and language pathologist who specializes in early intervention for children. She works closely with families, adopting a family based approach that includes parent and teacher training to ensure therapy goals are carried over into everyday life with a master's degree and extensive postgraduate training. Raeesa combines patient centered care with play based techniques to support communication, growth in the young children. She also places a strong emphasis on building literacy skills. This is something which our country, South Africa, especially in the government schools, which requires urgently, we actually rank quite low when it comes to literacy skills. Imagine if we cannot read, nothing else is possible and nothing else is comprehended. Well, Raeesa works with children with autism, ADHD, speech and language delays, stuttering, and learning difficulties. So Raeesa will be touching on these topics.
So that's a really great question, and it is something that parents and even teachers struggle with a lot because in today's time there's so much going on. So we have our phones, which often has work on it, so we're paying attention to that. We have the TV going in the background, the radio. We have children demanding our attention, and sometimes when a child is speaking to us, we're also thinking about other things, things that stress us, financial stress, relationship stresses. So what should we be doing in these moments?
What's for supper?
Yeah, and I mean, this is part of life, but active listening, when done correctly, is a point of connection and safety for the child. So what we're looking at is a parent who is truly present and aware. So I advise my parents, say A'udhu and Bismillah, center yourself, connect to your heart, silence the noise around you. Focus on your child. Look at their facial features. Make eye contact. Smile. Get onto their level. If they're little kids, get onto their level. Soften your posture. Soften your neck and your face. Because before you even speak, your body is speaking for you. So connect to your heart and look at your child and see what's going on. How do they look? Truly look at them. And then listen to what they're saying. Not to fix the issue. Not to hover. Not to tell them, oh, you're wrong. Why did you say that? Just be present and show up for them, because your job as a parent is to, one, give them safety, to be a sounding board for them so that they can work through their own problems, so that they can work through their own emotions. And when you do that, and I'd like to bring our listeners to this quality. So Allah is As-Sami. He's all hearing. He's Rahman, he's compassionate. So what you're doing is you're actually emulating and transferring that frequency of Rahman to your child. And when you do that, then your child is able to grow in a way that is healthy for them, I mean, there's a lot more. So I'll give you an example. Once there was a child who, I would say he's like 4 years old, minimally verbal. He would take a car and he would just throw it against the wall. And he would just look at me and throw the car against the wall. And I mean, a parent or a teacher might say, oh, why are you throwing that? Stop it. You're going to get hurt. The car's going to break. No, this is how a car goes. It's not wrong. But what the child really needed was for me to just be present with him and give him the appropriate language. I'd be like, oh no, it crashed. Look, it crashed. Uh-oh, accident. And then he actually started modifying his behavior to include me in the play. And then he started copying the word crash. And now he started being more expressive. So, presence and awareness is really important. And it can really help a child on their emotional journey and on their journey to learn how to navigate the complex world that they're in. Okay, so this question applies to really little kids. So we have the terrible 2s, 5-year-olds. And then we have the terrible teens.
Terrible teens. It keeps going.
Do you know, my daughter told me something a while back. Do you know, Mommy, you also get the terrible 30s and 40s and 50s. So I said, where did you hear that? She said, no, I was just reading something that parents and mummies and daddies also go through their terribles.
Home is the first school that our children attend.
That's a very good point.
And often a behavior is a language.
Yes.
We just don't understand it. It's like if I spoke to you in Chinese, you wouldn't know what I'm saying. But if you took the time to learn a few words, then you would understand my message, right? Behavior, pushing, throwing, screaming, tantrums. In teenage years, even things like isolating themselves in their room,
It's a
not
cry for
wanting to
help.
Exactly. It is a signal of something that is going on in their emotional state.
Yeah.
Children have really complex thoughts and experiences, but they don't know how to organize that, especially, and add language to it to communicate it. So we see the behavior first.
And
Now-
YouTube plays such a vital role in the behavior.
Oh, absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
And we must also remember the sensory system. So a
Right.
child might be coming home from school really overwhelmed because of loud noises, light, touch. Their clothes may be itchy. They may be exhausted, thirsty. All of this relates to behaviors that we'll see. So what do we do when we see behaviors? I had this little girl who, such a sweetheart, but she would bite every time she got really overwhelmed. She would bite her friends. She would bite her parents. She would bite her teachers. Her friends would actually jump when she comes near them because she's going to bite them. And when she couldn't bite her friends, do you know what? She would bite her own hand. And it was so heartbreaking to see that. But then we looked at, okay, what is her sensory system saying? Why is she dysregulated? Why is she biting? Okay, she doesn't have the language to process that she's feeling frustrated, upset. Then we have to work on sort of what is acceptable behavior. So I can't bite my friends because that's not very
That's
nice.
not okay.
But I can maybe ask for some time alone. I can go and do some deep breathing. I can jump on the trampoline. I can use a stress ball. She had a sensory necklace that she used when she was really looking for that deep pressure input. So what I'm saying here is if you see a behavior, you got to put on your detective hat as a parent, as a teacher, and look at what's going on in the environment. What happened before this? What is this child trying to tell me? When you figure that out, you're better able to support your child. And often when a child is dysregulated, we try to talk them through those situations. That is the worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
Because
And that's what we all do.
it's terrible.
That's for all of us,
Do you
right?
know why it's terrible? Because they're not ready to receive that information because they're feeling so overwhelmed. So in those moments, you kind of just sit with them. Let them feel whatever they're feeling. Let them breathe. Let them come to a calm state. And then when they're calm, you speak about the event. Sometimes children might not even like the focus to be on them. So do you know what I do? I'll tell them a story about my childhood or something I experienced. Be like, oh, I had this friend and she would steal my lunch every day. And do you know what I did? And I'd give them different scenarios of what I could do. And I'd be like, so what do you think of that? What did I do? Does that sound good? And then without the focus being on them, they're able to see, okay, what is acceptable behavior and what should I do when I'm feeling this way? So behavior, it's once you get the hang of it, once you tune into your child and again connect to your heart, be present, don't judge, don't try to fix, don't worry about what people are going to say, because often in a shopping center, if you have a child that's like throwing a tantrum on the floor, parents are just trying to like quiet them.
Today I was with my mother-in-law, my little one, my nephews, and a whole lot of my daughter's friends from the flat where my mother-in-law stays. And as I was telling you, I took them to the beachfront, and we like sitting having ice creams, and the kids are busy playing in the sand. And there's this child screaming, maybe like a 4-year-old, throwing a tantrum. Throwing the bike, screaming, and parents are like, don't know what to do. And there were like about 3 or 4 other kids. And I looked at my mother-in-law, hey, lucky we never had that problem with our kids.
See, that's funny. That's funny.
Show us empathy when they have experienced
Amen.
empathy.
Right. Exactly.
And where does that come from?
It comes from the parents.
Mom and dad.
Exactly.
Sure.
From their immediate, not from teachers at school, because often parents will blame teachers for things.
Right. That's right. But it starts at home.
It starts at home.
True, very true.
So you have to connect to your heart. And I keep coming back. So Allah's name of Ya Latif, subtleness, kindness. Show your child kindness. Like you said, I hear you. I see that you're struggling. You must be really frustrated. You're feeling empathy for your child.
Right.
That is so powerful for a developing brain, because now they know, oh, this is what it means to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel seen. And then when they see a need for it, they're able to replicate because
And that was it today.
they've been given the
could.
script.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So often parents worry, is this normal? What helps us trust the child's unique rhythm of growth, even when he doesn't follow the textbook path?
Okay, so we have two extremes here. So we have one set of parents, and this is just a personality type where they're like, "Oh, he'll outgrow it. We'll wait and see. It's fine. All the
It's a
boys in
dad's
our
family.
family, all the boys in our family are like this. Like all the
Boys
boys
will
in
be
your family are
boys.
ADHD."
Yeah.
Okay, so then, that's just one type, and then we have the other type who's like anxious and worried, and oh no, my child is not doing okay. But I mean, they're getting 80s at school. No, 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 they could be doing better.
Yeah.
Basically, what parents need to look out for is we need to respect that each child will grow at their own rate and rhythm, right? If we look at nature, if we look at flowers, each flower, each plant blooms in its own time and it's beautiful. However, we do look at the environment the child is in and we look at developmental norms. So if is there something, so for example, if you have a 5-year-old who's only speaking in short sentences or hitting, pushing, kicking,
Yeah.
you're going to be worried. If you have a 7-year-old who's having difficulty learning to read, you're going to be worried. If you have a teenager who is not socializing well, doesn't have friends, comes home anxious, teary, you're going to be worried. So at each stage in your child's life, you have to look at what is expected at this stage in terms of their academic development, their socio-emotional development, and their interaction with people. And as a parent, you'll know. But if you don't know, go into Google, check a developmental list for your child's age.
The milestones.
Speak to a professional, speak to a speech language pathologist, a teacher, an OT, because they are with children all the time. You can even, and it's not nice to compare, but you can even look at your children within your family who are the same age or within their peer group and then see, oh, okay, what is my child doing? And if there's anything that worries you, the best thing to do is to speak to a professional. Do you know why? One scenario is that there's nothing to worry about and then you're okay, you've checked it out. And the other scenario is there is something to worry about. And now you're giving your child the best opportunity to fill in those gaps and to strengthen areas that they might be finding difficult.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's lots of red flags that we can speak about. And we touched on this earlier, is that parents need to find a state of balance and calm before we help our children through their emotional
So should we
overwhelm.
open that 2-liter tub of ice cream?
That's right. Seriously, though, if that makes you comfortable, do it.
So I'll give you a practical example.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would come home from work and I'd be really stressed out. I have a headache or something would happen on the road, road rage.
Yeah.
I talk it through with my son. So I'll say to him, oh, mom's really, I have a headache and I'm feeling so tired. My work day was really hard. Oh, and this person driving really slowly in front of me makes me feel really frustrated because I just want to get home and get comfy. Do you know what I've done? I've talked through emotions that I'm feeling so that when my child is feeling an emotion, he knows how to articulate it, to process it, and he knows what to do with that. So when children are overwhelmed, as we discussed, it's never the time to teach in that moment.
100%.
You co-regulate. So you breathe, you smile, you give them a hug, you take them for a walk, kick off their shoes, go and stand in the garden.
We do that.
Ground.
Yeah.
Just show them safety, presence, love, connection. And then after that, you speak about, oh, when I feel angry, what do I do? When I feel sad, what do I do? If someone's passed on in your family and they miss that person, grandparent has passed on, oh, when I miss Nana, what do I do? So overwhelm can present in many ways. It could be sensory dysregulation, it could be emotional outbursts, but there's two parts of that. So the one is connection, and the second part is, and I think a lot of our listeners can relate to this, is that as parents, our first job is to connect our children with Allah. It is to connect them to the purpose of their creation. And how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? So we look at the names of Allah, we look at Quranic verses. There might be a dua that brings you peace. So you share that with your child. When I'm feeling really stressed, I read this. It could be a simple thing like, I know my little one loves to read. Okay, I'll tell you a funny story. So do you remember?
Sitting here, it's smiling.
Oh, this is your little one?
Not very little.
It's a big one.
I know. I do confuse people when I say little, but really little to me. So when he was actually little, did you remember the beach, the Golden Mile had those carrier cars that you'd sit in and you go, over and you look, and it was beautiful. So one day I took him in this. Little boy was terrified of heights. So very excited to go on this thing. So he gets on and we sit, and I mean the the bar that goes doesn't make you feel very safe. But anyway, so the ride starts and he's going, and then he got really scared. Do you know what he started? He started reading Fatiha. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. The whole way he was reading Fatiha. And I had a good laugh. But do you know what? That brought him comfort and peace in a time of real anxiety and fright. So teaching children these things, ways to self-regulate in moments of emotional overwhelm is really important. And that is your job as a parent. Before anything else, give your child safety, give them connection, give them a space to exist as they are without trying to fix them, and then connect them to Allah in these simple ways.
Almighty, that's so important, huh?
Yeah.
Do you know how many people say it was blessing in disguise? Because families got to talk. We got to
That's right.
talk.
Families got to talk. The funniest thing happened. It was like about 7 years ago. There was an electrical failure, all of San Diego. For the first time, and I kid you not, for the first time, I met my neighbors down the street.
See,
they walked out the house.
So even COVID had blessing in disguise.
That's right.
When you think about, sometimes what they say, the law of the nature, the Almighty, realize that we actually don't know, we're harming ourselves long term.
Long term.
Sumaya, I want to touch on the question you just asked. So I want to give Shem, I'm hard on parents, so I want to give them some reprieve.
Wow.
That's right.
We want to school.
We want to leave them with a gift, right? So I will tell the parents who are listening to this, you don't have to have all of the answers. Yes. You don't have to fix every problem. You don't have to know what your child's life is going to be like in 10 or 20 years. You just need to be present with your child, to love them unconditionally, to truly give them your attention, your soft eyes, that heart connection. And I'll leave you with this name of Allah. So we focus on Ar-Rahman, right? Ar-Rahman is the one who acts with mercy, the beneficent. Now, when we experience, we're speaking about kindness, love, gentleness, softness. We are in connection with Ar-Rahman. So if parents just take that, we have 3 weeks of holiday, I'm giving you homework, not the kids, the parents. Focus on Ar-Rahman in all of your interaction with your children. Create that frequency in your home and see what comes out of it. Have no expectations. Just be with Allah in Rahman and Rahim.
Exactly.
Aren't we here for that? As parents, aren't we here to just share love with our children?
Exactly, makes one think. Every child grows in their own time, but sometimes there are signs that a child may need extra support. What are some gentle ways, parents can tune into these red flags, and how do they know when it's time to seek professional guidance? Because sometimes we are in denial.
So, as a parent, I think the denial comes from a fear of judgment.
Absolutely.
And a fear of not having a perfect child, and what will so-and-so think.
What so-and-so think. That's right. What would society
all
think?
are guilty of this.
I think everybody.
Yeah.
Every parent, yes.
So let's leave that behind, right? Let go of that baggage, let go of judgment, because your children are a trust to you. Your children are an amana to you. So Allah has chosen you. God has chosen you to be the parent of this child and has placed this child with you. So do your best in that situation. So what does that look like for a very little kid who is not speaking, or a child who seems to be always anxious, emotionally overwhelmed? Maybe when they speak, they're not well understood by unfamiliar strangers. Maybe this child seems to be losing focus in class, has trouble sleeping. You could have a child who's having difficulty learning to read, write, spell. You could have a child who seems to enjoy being alone more than they enjoy being with friends. You could have a child who has difficulty eating, picky eating, fussy eating. There's lots of signs that we could look out for. You as a parent will know. And if you don't know, that's okay. Just be present with your child and you'll see. Allah will show you and guide you. Your mom eyes, your dad eyes will open and you'll be like, oh, I don't think this is right. And then someone else will say, oh, no, it's fine. He'll outgrow it. But trust your gut instinct. Go to a professional and seek help, because then you're giving your child the best opportunity to be the best that they could be. When you're making their lunch for them and sorting out their clothes and packing their bags, what are you showing them? You're showing them that, number one, I don't trust you to do it.
Some people
Yes,
tell
that's
some
very
people
true.
tell me that I can't live I always tend to be personal. I don't know why on my show. Some people tell me you can't live the way you have grown up. You lived in like dinosaurs' age, so
Yeah.
let you do this for your child. And I just feel like no, no, no. It's teaching them to be independent, like
Right.
putting your shoes by the door, taking out your bag, putting your message book, like simple things. Some colleagues, even family members, tell me it's child abuse, but I look at it like, oh, parting words to all our moms out there, and especially I'll just say the parents out there.
Enjoy this time that you have. Get your kids outdoors, have fun with them, build memories, be present, show them love, and don't worry about what people are going to say. This is
Exactly.
your child. You know best, and just enjoy the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jazakallah so much.